Your money, free your future. Welcome to Budget for Life. My name is Jeremy. I'm a financial advisor and I'm the co-founder of Budget for Life, a transformative budgeting experience, providing you with confidence, clarity, and total control of your money. If that's what you're about or if that's what you're pursuing, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Would love to be a part of your journey and feel free to join my free financial community link in the description. Okay, in this video, I want to talk about the moral ethic of wealth creation, and I want to dive into this from a biblical worldview. What does the Bible say about money, and do Christians have a moral obligation? Do they have a responsibility to get rich or to create wealth? And how might this differ from the lies that you've maybe been fed from a prosperity gospel, for example, or maybe how the Pharisees perhaps got this twisted and got this wrong? Okay, so this is going to be pretty thorough. It's going to be a Bible deep dive. And really, I just want to answer the question, what's the point of wealth? What's the point of wealth creation? Or another way you could say this is, what if we're not supposed to just chase money? We're not supposed to just try to get rich. Why would someone pursue creating wealth? What is a good reason to try to create wealth? Let's dive into it. So I want to start off with one of my favorite quotes from Jesus. So this is Jesus himself. And he says, I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves. Just pause right there. Have you heard that preached in a sermon yet? Use wealth to gain friends for yourself. And he offers some justification. But I just want to pause right there and say that one of the reasons you might want to create wealth, or one of the purposes of wealth, beyond simply enjoying it, sharing it, thanking God for it, is to use it. To use it in anything that you want to do in this world, it requires resources to do. And the more resources you have, the more you can do it. And so, one noble and honorable thing you can do is make relationships, to make friends, to influence and impact people. So, if you are a person that wants to have a positive impact in the world, or you want to have a positive impact on people's lives, or you want to be surrounded by friends who love you, according to Jesus, you can use wealth to gain those things. And it's not that complicated. Even in our 21st century economy, I'm like, yeah, use worldly wealth to influence someone. Yeah, it's called buying an ad, like use worldly wealth to gain friends. Yeah, just treating people to meals, hosting people, right? It's an easy open door for someone to build a relationship with you, for you to have an impact on someone, for you to help someone who's in need even. And when it's gone, then you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. And in doing so, you even maybe pass this test, right? Whoever can be trusted with little can also be trusted with much. Whoever is dishonest with little can will be dishonest with much. So if you haven't been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? So another purpose, you could say, of wealth is the test of wealth. Often we might read a biblical warning about riches maybe leading someone astray, and we think the solution is I'm going to avoid riches, when maybe the more biblical approach is I want to pass the test of riches, right? It's not like you can avoid money. If you live in this world, you're going to have to deal with money, right? And so avoiding it is like the one option you will fail at, because you have to touch it. You have to interact with it. No matter where you live, there are denominations of currency, right? So instead of trying to run away from currency like it has the power to condemn you, rise up and take on the challenge, the test of wealth stewardship, and use it to gain friends and use it for all sorts of things. Here is a fascinating story of a man that Solomon is telling us about, an example of wisdom that greatly impressed him. There was once a small city. A powerful king came against it, but in that city lived a poor man who was wise. He saved the city by his wisdom. But check this out. But nobody remembered that poor man. So Solomon said, wisdom's better than strength, but the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are no longer heeded. So this is the juxtaposition of what I just said. So one positive purpose of wealth is to use it to influence people, to make relationships with people. On the other side of that coin, you might think, well, I want to be someone who nobly influences people from a place of poverty. And Solomon's saying, you know what? You could have the biggest influence on someone ever. You could literally save their life from siege against a powerful king. But when you lack financial resources, even your influence is despised. Even your wisdom is despised, despite the fact that your wisdom is better than strength. Your wisdom in and of itself hypothetically should be respected and valued, but coming from a place of poverty is despised and your influence decreases. Isn't that so fascinating? I think also about Mordecai. I think his name is Mordecai with Esther, right? Like a great example of someone who, from a place of poverty, had an amazing influence on delivering, saving, providing for the people of God. But how did he do it? He got the ear of someone who had wealth, right? He, in his noble efforts, convinced Esther to do something, who convinced the king to do something, right? It's from the position of wealth that the deepest measures of influence can be had in this world. That's different than your influence of the Lord's heart. I'm not saying you're worth more to God, but I'm saying if in this life on earth you want to do anything, or you feel compelled by God or commissioned by God or mandated by God to do anything, then anything it is that you would want to do with wealth, you can do so with greater impact. Wealth is also a byproduct of wisdom, right? So it's a way to increase influence and impact in the world. It is also positively associated with strategic thinking, with sound thinking, with integrous, balanced, wise, calculated thinking. Which is why in that story we just read, the poor man's wisdom is despised because it's intuitive to these people that wisdom and wealth go together. Check it out. Blessed are those who find wisdom, for she's more profitable than gold and yields better returns, or sorry, more profitable than silver, yields better returns than gold, more precious than rubies. Now, if you stopped there and this was being preached on a Sunday, more profitable than gold, you would think, yes, wisdom. It's so much better than money. It's more altruistic than money, right? Like, oh, woe to those who chase after money. Wisdom is way more valuable intrinsically, ethereally than money. But that's not where the verses stop. It says, long life is in her right hand, in her left hand are riches and honor. In her left hand are riches. So this phrase, wisdom is more profitable than silver, like he's saying like actually profit. Like you'll make more money through your wisdom than you'll make with silver. You'll make more money with wisdom than you'll make with gold. Wisdom is the best resource you could have for wealth creation. And why? Because you are your best resource for wealth creation. Let's read another example. So here's wisdom personified in Proverbs 8. I, wisdom, dwell together with prudence. And read some things about what wisdom says about itself. It says, I love those who seek me, and those who seek me find me. I love those who love me. With me are riches and honor, enduring wealth and prosperity. Like, for most of us, that list would mean the same thing if he just said, with me are riches. But he's like, you know what? You're going to have riches and you're going to have enduring wealth, but I'm not going to stop there. You're also going to have prosperity. It's like, okay, wisdom, we get the point. My fruit is better than fine gold. What I yield surpasses choice silver. Again, this is not saying that altruistically wealth is somehow a shallow goal and wisdom is somehow a holy goal. This is saying that wealth through wisdom is the optimal path or the fastest path, like yielding more profit more quickly than even the most precious earthly resources. And wisdom bestows a rich inheritance on those who love it and makes their treasuries full. Wisdom, yielding wealth. A couple other promises, or I guess like associations of how does a Christian all of a sudden become enamored by wealth, or why, we read some verses in the New Testament about people being led astray by wealth. It's like, well, how did that even happen, right? And here's some verses that I can kind of show you to begin to express how that ended up getting twisted. And stay to the end because there's some really helpful differentiators that I want to share with you. But Proverbs 3 says, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruit of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. In Psalm 112, he says, blessed are those who fear the Lord. Wealth and riches are in their houses. And in Psalm 128, blessed are all who fear the Lord. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. So you see this association of wealth with your devotion to God, your seeking of God, your giving your first fruits to God, right? So we have wealth as influence and impact. We have wealth as a demonstration of wisdom. And now we have wealth as a demonstration of character, right? Associated with your own morality, in a sense, with your own genuine devotion and pursuit of God. It's associated with wealth, right? Right. And I love the way Psalm 128 says it because it's a key that we're about to focus in on, which is that the blessing is tied to the fruit of your labor. The blessing of wealth is tied to the fruit of your labor. It's not blessed are all who fear the Lord. I will continue to rain down manna on their fields for as long as they live. No, it's blessed are those who fear the Lord. Like I'm gonna bless the work of your hands. I'm gonna put wealth into your houses through the houses that you built, by the way, right? With in the wealth is like things that you also generated or a margin that you created. And I also just want to give a slight pause before we dive into the mandate portion, which is that wealth in these times was not measured in the same way that wealth is measured today. I talk about wealth, and often we're thinking about a billionaire, and I'm like, okay, well, these people were not billionaires. And yet, God says that wealth and riches were in their houses. So often, if we're doing an honest assessment of our lifestyle, of our capacity, of our influence, of our wisdom, of the work of our hands and what we can create, in many ways, we are far wealthier than the wealthiest people in all of human history, right? Except for that billionaire over there, except for the 1% over there. I'm like, yeah, take your eyes away from them. And if you just honestly assess your life, you would say, man, I am surrounded by wealth. And so, again, to disassociate with money or to think money is somehow bad or overly dangerous, you might miss, again, the test that you get to pass and the positive association that you get to create, not just with your own name. I'm not talking about building your own brand as look at so and so who's so rich, but I'm talking about you as someone who represents God on the earth for him to receive more glory through your own honor as perceived by other people. He's not happier with you necessarily if you have X amount of dollars, right? But other people who maybe are not believers, they value dollars so highly. And when they see your dollars or they experience the wealth of your wisdom and integrity and work, they may just be moved to think there might be something to this God that you serve. So let's keep going. Deuteronomy 8:12 through 13. So this is kind of where it all starts for real. And Moses is explaining to people, he says, otherwise, when you eat and are satisfied, when you build fine houses and settle down, and when your herds and flocks grow large, when your silver and gold increase, when all you have is multiplied. So Moses is talking to the people of God on what life is going to be like in the promised land. And he's not saying if you eat and are satisfied, if you build, it's like when you do all these things. And he's not talking to the 1%, he's talking to everyone, right? When you do all of this. Now, again, if we were just reading this in a church, you would think the next line is, you're being selfish and you should give it all away. And why would you build a fine house when you could blank? And oh my gosh, your flock's growing large, silver and gold increasing. Like, when is enough going to be enough? Money has endangered us forever. Like, but he's saying when you do these things, you may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth and so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your ancestors as it is today. This line from Moses is, in many ways, like the crescendo or the impetus of the Christian wealth mandate, which is that Moses says that one, it's God who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and that as you produce wealth through his ability given to you, that it confirms the covenant that he made with the people of God. So all of a sudden, your wealth is about more than just you, right? It's not just about do you want to get your groceries at Whole Foods or do you get them from Aldi, right? It's not about does your car go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or 6 seconds, right? It's not about this lavish surface level lifestyle. This is too much. This is not enough. From a consumption perspective, it is as you acknowledge God in your life as a believer, then you are therefore also acknowledging that your ability to produce wealth and ultimately whatever amount of wealth you do produce is connected to Him. And because of that connection, you are actually increasing the validity, not the validity of the actual covenant, but again, as perceived by others, right? As for other people that you might want to influence towards the Christian faith or whatever, it's like actually this is a building block, one of the ways that you add a measure of fame, honor, glory to the name of God, right? Which is the one that we're trying to serve, right? If you're a Christian. Now, what is that covenant that God is confirming in giving us the ability to produce wealth? Moses is referencing this promise, God to Abram, who became Abraham. He says, I will make you into a great nation and I will bless you. I will make your name great and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you. Whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Now, a lot of times we talk about hashtag blessed. And again, we just think, I'm happy, right? Like, I'm going to make you happy as if that's all God's saying. But he's saying, no, I'm actually going to make you into a great nation, a great name, like blessed to the point that all people are blessed through you. That means you will be what? Able to produce wealth, able to produce wealth. Nations, what makes a nation great in the eyes of other nations, right? What makes a name great? Your name is great as it relates to other people's like perception of your name. It's a reputation. To say like I'm going to give you a great name is to say I'm going to give you a great reputation. Well, who are the people that are giving you that reputation? It's other nations. Well, what do other nations value? Power, wisdom, wealth, right? Strength, resources. So God has, from a covenant perspective, saying, I'm going to do these things, which He's the one that says, I'm going to do it, right? But the way that he confirms it is by giving you the ability to produce wealth. And if you are a Christian, then you have been grafted into this Abrahamic promise. So again, is it just about you? Is it just about, well, I don't need that much. Well, I could be happy on less. All those people trying to get money. No, we're not talking about trying to get money. We're trying to talk about what is the covenant that your faith is built upon, right? We're trying to talk about is what is God promising here and how does he want to fulfill that promise? If God promises it and he doesn't want anything from you in response, then okay, let's just sit back and watch and see what happens. Maybe he'll just let you win the lottery one day, or you'll just wake up one day and $1 million will be in your bank account and you can finally be a blessing to all people. It's like actually the way he wants to fulfill it is through you producing wealth, your ability to produce wealth. Later in Deuteronomy, there's another kind of promise or a covenant from God. And again, look at this. The Lord will send a blessing on your barns and everything you put your hand to. The Lord will bless you in the land he's giving you. So let's look at these blessings. These blessings, again, they are not only financial, but they are financial. It is a wealth blessing from God to his people. And how's it going to come? On your barns, right? The things and everything you put your hand to, your land. What else? Then all the peoples on earth will see that you are called by the name of the Lord. Right? I'm going to give provision on the barns that you build, on the lands that you tend to, on everything you put your hand to on your ability to produce wealth. And then what? Then all the peoples on earth will see that you are called by the name of the Lord. So maybe share the gospel a little bit less and maybe start creating wealth a little bit more. Like, dang. Keep sharing the gospel as much as you want, but don't be like this poor man whose wisdom is despised, right? Don't go to someone with, I have the message to save you when you don't have anything that they value. They don't value your faith. They don't value your God. That's the whole definition of being an unbeliever, right? So if the only ground you're standing on is I have faith in my God, it's like, okay, I don't care, right? But what do they value? They value money, influence, power, a great name. If you want people on earth to see the covenant of God, if you want people to see the character of God, then you might want to walk in the blessing of God, which is associated with things that the world can see, like your character, like your wisdom, like your ability to create wealth. And then he just doubles down. The Lord will grant you abundant prosperity through the sky? No, in the fruit of your womb, in the young of your livestock, in the crops of your ground, in the land that he swore to your ancestors to give you. The Lord will open the heavens, the storehouse of his bounty, to send rain on your land in season, and to bless what? To bless all the work of your hands. You will lend to many nations, but borrow from none. The Lord will make you the head and not the tail. If you pay attention, you will always be at the top and never at the bottom. So again, these are God initiated promises and covenants. This is not from a self-help book. This is the Bible. And it carries through in the New Testament too. This is Paul in 2 Corinthians. He says, now he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food, aka God, will also increase your store of seed and enlarge the harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. Paul keeps going, explaining why the service of enrichment and generosity is actually central and important to God, to people knowing God. And he says, thanks be to God for this indescribable gift. Now, this is what I would say is a summary of the Christian mandate towards wealth creation. And to wrap up this video, I want to share a couple thoughts, which is how does this differ from the prosperity gospel and how does this differ from what Pharisees were doing? Because we know that the Pharisees' approach to money was getting rebuked all over the place in the New Testament. But can we just pause for a second and say, man, I could see how the Pharisees could have gotten it a little bit twisted, right? Did they just weaponize the Torah? Did they weaponize scripture to make it all about money? It's like, well, without any interest at all in God? Or were they, in the best of their ability, trying to do what they thought God wanted people to do, and that happened to include a mandate towards wealth, and they ended up missing the bigger picture and getting the mandate wrong in some ways? Like, can you see how someone could read some of this stuff and end up overcorrecting towards wealth? Yes, it's not that hard. It's not just a bunch of scammers and shills out there trying to dupe people into, well, God and this and wealth. It's like, no, there's a lot of meat on those bones. But here's the difference, okay? The prosperity gospel, the main difference is entitlement versus responsibility. So the prosperity gospel says, hey, because you follow God, he's going to give you money. Like the Christian mandate is because you follow God, he has given you the ability to produce wealth. Way different, right? The prosperity gospel is because you follow God, he's going to keep sending manna. It's going to come, who knows where it's going to come from, but one day it's going to come. Just keep believing, name it and claim it, right? The Christian mandate is I have responsibility to pursue wealth creation. And in doing so, I bring glory to God. The prosperity gospel says God has responsibility to bring glory to me. Because I'm a Christian, he needs to give me money. But that's not what we read, right? Not at all. The Christian is, man, because I follow God, I have responsibility to glorify him. And one of the primary ways that I do that, bring honor and desirability, right, glory and fame to his name, and to represent him rightly to the earth, to serve as an ambassador, bridging people to him, making him more accessible, more desirable, more praised in all of the earth, to have him more represented to people that do not know him. One of the primary ways that I can accomplish that and add legitimacy and confirmation to his integrity, to his covenant, is through my wealth creation, which he has given me the ability to do. So it's entitlement versus responsibility. Now, what about the Pharisees? Basically, the Pharisees put the power in money when God was trying to put the power in people. And I'll show you three ways, or I'll explain kind of three ways that the Pharisees did this. So one is taking versus making. So that like what we are called to do as a Christian is to create wealth through wisdom, integrity, hard work, generosity, etc. What the Pharisees did is, I need to get money at all costs, whether it's by oppressing others, cutting corners, compromising on my morality, whatever it takes, I'm going to get money. And it's like, well, no, 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 that's a little different. Okay, getting money by any means necessary is not the same thing as creating wealth, right? If you're a college student or a high school student, a 4.0 is not a 4.0 if you cheated to get that 4.0, right? The mandate is not you need to be getting all A's. The mandate is continue learning, and I've given you the ability to learn, right? The mandate is to pursue wealth creation, not you need to have X amount of dollars. So it's taking money versus making money. It's also a misplaced cause and effect, which I was just kind of getting into there. What we read is God saying, hey, if you're a part of me, then when you create wealth, you bring me honor and glory. Pharisees twisted it. They're saying, hey, if if I can create wealth, then it proves my legitimacy as a follower. I need money to show that I'm a legit Christian because, right, wisdom and money, they're associated together, and honoring God and character with money, they're associated together, and the covenant being confirmed through wealth creation. So, how do I know if I'm actually a Christian unless I create money? Right? It's a reverse cause and effect. God saying, no, I like have chosen you. You're already a part of me. And in that, I've given you the ability to create wealth. And you honor me when you use that ability, when you grow in that ability, when you pursue that ability. The Pharisees put the power in money by reversing the cause and effect, saying, I need to get money so that I can prove I'm a legit Christian, or at that time, a legit Jew. A third way they did it is they assumed you were a sinner if you did not create wealth, if you didn't have money. And the truth is that everyone deserves a level of honor and respect for their own journey, particularly as it relates to life circumstances. Like, God's given us the ability to produce wealth, of course. That does not mean every single person who ever associates with the Christian God is going to be a billionaire. Okay? Like, it's not the same thing. We're all given the ability to learn. It doesn't mean we're all Albert Einstein, right? There's different capacities along this spectrum of wealth creation. And the point is not to generate a certain outcome in terms of dollar amounts, so much as it is to be a part of that journey. And with wealth creation in particular, there are totally out of your control life circumstances that can dramatically affect how much wealth you do or don't create, right? Like you could suddenly go through some horrible health crisis or some traumatic experience that then turns into a mental health journey that makes your net like ability to work, to create wealth, like hindered substantially. And God is not like you're failing, right? But Pharisees got it twisted. Like, man, if you're poor, it's probably because you're a sinner. And that's like putting the power in money rather than in the person. And it's also ultimately it disrespects and devalues the person who's what God's wanting to put value into is the person. And then it also shames them as if they had sinned. And there's one more verse I wanted to read kind of as it relates to that. Um, in Luke 13, Jesus is explaining kind of something different, but he's saying, do you think that these Galileans were worse sinners than all the others because they suffered? I tell you no. But unless you repent, you too will all perish. Or those 18 who died when the tower in Siloam fell on them, do you think they were more guilty than all the others living in Jerusalem? Let's see what he says. He says, I tell you no. But unless you repent, you too will all perish. So again, that's some different circumstances, but in an example of, hey, when unfortunate life circumstances happen, or like when your outcomes are not as epic and desirable as someone else's outcomes, it's not because you're doing something wrong, right? You should receive honor, glory, a great name, a great reputation simply for being on the same journey, right? The pursuit, the ability. And it's not like, that's a guarantee that everyone's going to end up with the same results. But it is the same mandate. It is the same invitation, the same commission for all of us in some way to contextualize what does it mean for you to pursue wealth creation. So it's different than what the Pharisees were doing. So it makes sense why Jesus talked about this a lot, because the Pharisees obviously had gravitated towards some of these teachings about wealth in the Old Testament, but they had put the power in money rather than putting the power ultimately in God, but God giving the power to people, right? But it's his power ultimately. But God's, trying to get people back into the kingdom of God, trying to get people back into, hey, God's the one with the power. His people are the one with his, extended power, not the powers in money, and we're in the kingdom of money. The prosperity gospel swings so far in the opposite direction, which is that God has so much power and he loves us so much that he's going to do it all for us. It's like actually he loves us so much and he has so much power that he's going to let us create it. He won't do it all for us because he loves us so much and he has so much power that he can actually use you to create wealth. Can you imagine that? That must be a really stinking powerful God. I mean, look at you. I'm playing. Hey, if you got anything out of this video, give it a like. Let me know in the comments below anything you see differently or you want to add to the conversation. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.